We are back, baby. Views tube. Hope you're well. I'm all right. A little bit under the weather, but we move, you know. And we're back, like I said, gangs and things. On to the next one. We done Chiraq or Chicago, the deadly war in Chicago. Now we're doing 051 Melly, Chiraq's deadly assassin. So let me know if you're liking this one by hitting the like button. Let me know that you've subscribed by dropping a comment. And without too much further ado, let's get into this, man.
Now, Chicago is a large city in Illinois that is well known to be the birthplace of the popular genre known as drill, which was popularized by 16-year-old Chief Keef, who would release tracks like I Don't Like and Love Sosa, both currently sitting on more than 100 million streams. This level of success then shining a spotlight on Chicago drill rappers like King Von from O Block, L.A. Capone from the Collective 600, and Lil Durk, who was a well-known BD or Black Disciple, with these rappers being involved in some of the deadliest gang wars in the entirety of Chicago, whilst King Von was gaining attention within the streets of Chicago for allegedly being very dangerous and killing multiple rivals. A young member from the rival 051 Young Money Gang, which had beef with the 600 set, the O Block Gang, and finally THF 46, would begin to assassinate any...
I swear, because obviously when they rap, I'm trying to think if I heard of these guys 051, just like the FBG Duck. It's like, I feel like it's familiar. 051. You know what I'm saying? So let me know in the comments.
Anyone that was close to Lil Durk or his street gang, 300, this member being rumored to have killed around 8 people within the streets of Chicago, all whilst living in the rival 600 territory and dropping hints all over his Twitter page. But then subsequently he was shot and killed whilst he had his guard down at a party. He even coined the nickname the Grave Digger of Chicago whilst he was alive. This being the story of Chicago's deadliest shooter, 051 Melly. Before this video starts, I would like to say that the gang life really is not worth it and only ever leads to jail or death. The rappers you often see involved in gangs aren't showing the full picture, as they often have lost friends to the endless wars going on in the street.
And not just that, as we said it before, you know, you constantly got your head on the swivel, constantly. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're just gonna back up that message. We definitely co-sign that message. Yeah, there's only a couple of ways out. Therefore, in a box, you're lucky if you can manage to jump off and stay off and get no recomeuppance.
No matter where you are from, the gang life always leads to the same outcome, jail or death. So if you take anything away from this video, make sure it's to not get involved with the gang life. 051 Melly or Yarmul Williams was born around 1991 and was brought up in the Randolph Towers. He was raised alongside his little brother Wu, whose dad would be Melly's stepfather, and was in fact a well-known BD or Black Disciple gang member. However, in 1994, when Melly was around 3, his stepfather would commit 4 murders and was later arrested for them. His stepfather was given life in prison for the killings and is still locked up to this day. Melly and his little brother Wu would grow up with their uncle G Slim, who was a well-known NLMB member. Melly would later attend high school, and it's thought that in his years in high school, he would get close with 051 Young Money members. 051 Young Money being a gang that consisted of GDs or Gangster Disciples, Mickey Cobras, and Black P Stones, with it being rumored that one of Melly's closest friends from high school would be that of 051 Zico. It was alleged that Melly would switch gangs whilst in high school, swapping from being a BD or Black Disciple to being a Mickey Cobra, as that was the main membership of 051 Young Money. This now meaning he was beefing his old gang, as well as the gang's
and that's another recurring thing here. Yeah, recurring theme. I might have to get that on the t-shirt, you know. But it's true though. It's not the first time we've heard about, you know, someone beefing against their old people or family members that beef because of the gangs that they're in, and there's cousins in the ops and things like that. You know, with the younger OFB and stuff like that. That was another thing that came up like that. I think the other one, was it Bristol or something like that, where the guy switched sides and then his old friends got him down, innit? Because obviously, not only do you know their location and where they might be, but you know everything about them near enough. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a problem, you know? That's a problem. So without doing too much waffling, yeah, just another recurring theme. Leaving one gang, joining the others, and then beefing against your old people. Yeah, crazy one to me.
HF46, O Block 600, and Lamrun 300. Now, remember I said Melly was close with 051 Zico. It would actually be the death of 051 Zico. That would mark a point in Melly's life where he would get seriously involved in the gang war, jumping off the porch around 2008.
Damn. Sorry to just stop it again. But it's always good to kind of find out, or at least try if you can, to find out where it might have stemmed from. You know what I mean? HK, T Roy's brother, you know, he caught 4 bodies off the back of his brother getting killed. So it's always something like that that kind of gets you off the porch, as this guy says. But usually you might get the people who did it, and then you got other people after you now. And the people that normally kill these people end up dead or in jail themselves.
On the 27th of September 2008, Zico would be on his way home from university. On his way home, he would walk to a McDonald's with a friend. Upon reaching the restaurant, Zico would get into a fight with a rival gang member from the mainly BD-controlled gang THF46, which stands for Trigger Happy Family. This THF member was known as Aki. Aki then retrieved a gun during the fight and shot Zico multiple times. Zico was rushed to hospital, but would be pronounced dead on the 28th of September 2008. The THF46...
That's mad, isn't it? And another recurring theme that I talk about is obviously how things start, and then once someone gets stabbed or shot, or you can't really take it back after that. When there's fights, you know, there's always some way you can govern it, or do you know what I mean? But when you start stabbing and shooting and people die, it just don't stop. It just don't. I'm yet to find out. You know what I mean? So let me know in the comments if you know any examples.
Member was quickly arrested, but would seemingly flee the state for a year before once again being arrested in 2009, where a full trial took place, and in the end, he was found guilty and given 28 years. Rest in peace, Zico. The death of Zico would have a huge effect on 051 Young Money members, who would also go by Zico World around this time. In order to pay homage to their fallen friend, it was rumored that the killing of Zico would turn Melly into a demon. However, it wouldn't be until 2012 that Melly would begin his deadly attacks on rival members. In the year 2011, members of the 051 Young Money gang would kill 2 rival THF affiliates in 2 separate attacks, with it being thought that these 2 murders were in retaliation for the death of Zico in 2008. At the end of 2011, a prominent member of 051 Young Money, known locally as T...
Do you know what, actually? Do you know what that just made me think about? Sorry, let me just roll that up a little bit. It made me think about me a little bit of a narcissist moment. But, you know, when I talk about how unoriginal things are, and it's usually on postcodes and things like that, this seems a little bit different. Like they actually got names: Trigger Happy Family, or you know, the 300 or whatever, 051. That sounds like it's a zip code or a postcode or whatever. But I like, not like, there's nothing to like, you know. Oh great, but I'm just saying I like the fact that there is kind of like different names, and it isn't just kind of postcode affiliated. But a lot of these guys, you know, Tuka's World, Taekwon's World, Zico's World, that's where it kind of gets a bit unoriginal.
Attacks, with it being thought that these 2 murders were in retaliation for the death of Zico in 2008. At the end of 2011, a prominent member of 051 Young Money, known locally as T-Streets, would be shot in the head by a 600 member who went by the street name M. Thang. T-Streets was pronounced dead only moments later, with 051 Young Money then adopting the name Streetsville in remembrance of him. Whilst all of this killing was going on in the streets, Melly would begin to get active, with it being alleged that the death of T-Streets would result in Melly catching his first body, all in avenge of both T-Streets and Zico. On the 2nd of February 2012, Chiraq, who was a member of the Gang 600, would be attending a party on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue. Whilst,
you know what I'm gonna say now, innit? More recurring themes: carnival, parties, you know, a street party, a gathering. It's always these little things that get people outside, and there's a lot of times they get got, and also a lot of innocent people, because people roll up to these gatherings and just disperse into crowds, whatever. Do you know what I mean? They don't really care who they're getting, and a lot of the time they don't even get who they're after. But Another recurring theme.
The party was in session. Two members of 051 Young Money, allegedly being Melly and Kiddo, would be lurking on 600's territory looking for any rival members. Later on in the night, Shaq and a girl would go into an alleyway near the party. This is when both Melly and Kiddo would notice Shaq. The two 051 Young Money members then shot Shaq multiple times, with it even being reported that the girl was grazed by one of the bullets. Sadly, Shaq would be killed on the scene, with Melly and Kiddo then fleeing after the murder had taken place, with the girl then surviving. Melly would go on to tweet about this following the murder. He would tweet saying, "I heard Shaq's last words were, 'Can I pee first?'"
Oh, another recurring theme, people. These man, yeah, a lot of our drillers over here go on in the studio and make tracks and say all the things they do. They also maybe go on Snapchat, but these Donnies love Twitter. You know what I'm saying? But maybe that's what was popping at the time as well. Do you know what I mean? That might have been kind of like the main thing popping at that time. But again, it's bad enough that you're doing what you're doing and then you want to tell everyone what you're doing, like, you know.
With it being alleged Shaq was in the alleyway urinating when he was shot dead. As well as in March 2013, Melly went on to snitch on himself, seemingly confessing to the murder on Twitter, where he wrote, @Tay600, LOL, who caught Shaq in the alleyway with his dick out, LOL, alright. If anything, it appeared that Melly took pride in killing Shaq, this most likely being an early sign that he would kill again. In June 2012, a 14-year-old member of 051 Young Money, known as Fathead, would be shot dead whilst on his way to get a juice from the store. It is believed he was...
This is the shit that winds me up. I'm not saying none of these kids are doing badness, but where's the government? Where's the hierarchy? What, you know what I'm saying? What, big men are shooting after little boys? That's what it seems like. Can't even lie.
Shot over 10 times by rival gang members in a van. The 051 Young Money members would hear about this murder and would target a rival 600 member known as C-Day. Melly would actually be the one to set C-Day up, shooting at him multiple times. Luckily, however, C-Day survived this ambush and would make it out alive. It's also important to note that during this time of warfare, Melly was actually living on sick...
Where's C-Day now then? He survived? What, and that was it? They just let it go? Where's C-Day now? Answers in the comments if you know.
600's block, which meant he was often walking through his rival's hood, which would be something he would later brag about. It would be in March 2014 that a loved 051 member close with Melly, known as Lil Mark, would be waiting at a bus stop on the 300 block of East 51st Street. At around 1 p.m., a van full of rival THF-46 and 600 members would approach him. Two members opened fire, shooting him twice in the head, instantly killing him on the scene. Hours after the death of Lil Mark, the extremely popular rapper Lil Durk from the 300 gang would travel to the bus stop where Lil Mark was shot dead and would record a video mocking him. In the video, you can hear Lil Durk telling his audience,
"Hey, this bus stop right here, though, this a real famous place, you hear me?"
Wow. And then they come and do all of that stuff again. Very, very weird to me. Very, very weird to me.
It's a real famous place, B. Hey, this bus stop is a real famous place, B. I ain't gonna lie.
King Von would then also start disrespecting Lil Mark on his Twitter. 051 Melly and other 051 members would be seeking retaliation for the death of Lil Mark and would be looking to kill Lil Durk. However, due to the fact that Lil Durk was making a huge noise in the Chicago drill scene, he was well protected and didn't really spend time in the hood. 051 Melly would then seek out the people closest to Lil Durk, and in the months following Lil Mark's death, Melly would go on to kill both Lil Durk's cousin and his manager. On the 31st of May 2014.
See? More recurring themes. If they can't get you, they get your people. So your decisions, it's not just you that is affected. The Aussie gang broke into the house. The guy they was after didn't even sound like he was there. They stabbed the mum, the dad, and the brother. All survived, but still, what has it got to do with them? They might not even know what their kids are keeping up with. It's a dirty old game.
Lil Durk and his cousin, OTF Newski. OTF being Lil Durk's record label, Only the Family. Anyways, Lil Durk and Newski would be sitting in a parked car outside of a shopping complex on the 700 block of East 87th Street. Lil Durk would leave the parked car and would go inside the shopping complex. Whilst he was inside, 051 Melly and another member would spot Newski and would begin to let off shots towards him. Newski was hit multiple times and then attempted to drive off. However, he crashed into a building and was pronounced dead on the scene. Lil Durk then exited exited the shop after hearing the gunfire outside, and saw his cousin, who by this time was dead. This then affecting Dirk in a massive way. Melly would go on to tweet laughing faces on Twitter after the murder, as well as a cryptic message which read, "Dirk steady talking about Nunu was next up. Same was L.A. Capone too. They got savage turned down like Lil Rob." The violence in the streets of Chicago would continue following the death of OTF Newski, with Melly and other 051 members still planning to kill rival members close to Lil Durk. Just under a year following the death of Newski, on the 27th of March 2015, Lil Durk's manager, OTF Chino, would be sitting in a car outside of a restaurant on the 8400 block of South Stony Island. At around 2 a.m., 051 Melly would notice Chino sitting in a car and would sneak up to the car, armed with a gun. Melly then began shooting into the car whilst Chino was inside, with a few of these bullets hitting Chino in the head. Melly quickly fled the scene, with Chino then being rushed to hospital. Sadly, however, Chino was pronounced dead later on in the day, this then hitting Lil Durk hard, as this was the second person close to Lil Durk that Melly had seemingly killed.
Man, there's enough stories about Dirk not even being like that, and they've kind of mentioned it in this, like, didn't really hang out in the hood, not really down for any shootings or whatever's getting on. Do you know what I mean? But obviously acting like he is. So yeah, mad.
It was alleged that following the death of Lil Durk's cousin and manager, Lil Durk would put money on Melly's head. This was referenced in Lil Durk's songs following the death of his cousin. In Lil Durk's track titled Die Slow, Lil Durk would rap, "For the that killed my cousin, make sure he die slow." Supposedly a 15-year-old THF member known as Raheem would be ordered to kill Melly. In May 2015, Raheem would walk up to Melly.
A 15-year-old order to kill. This is what I'm trying to say, man. Grown men. This is how you're governing things. Worst come to the worst, these man hit the numbers, these man move the little packages, or you're sending them on drills. Like, I don't know, man. Say what you want about the U. Do you know what? I'm not even gonna. The UK is just as bad, just as bad. It needs to stop.
Melly and his two friends, shooting Melly in the head and injuring his friends. Melly, Raheem would, a THF member known as Raheem, would be ordered to kill Melly. In May 2015, Raheem would walk up to Melly and his two friends, shooting Melly in the head and injuring his friends. Melly was rushed to hospital but went on to survive by a miracle. Once Melly was discharged from the hospital, he would be back on demon timing and would be seeking out 15-year-old Raheem, as he was the one that supposedly shot Melly in the head. After he was released, he would even tweet, "That headshot ain't shit." And only around a week following his release from hospital, Melly would catch Raheem with a friend, leading to yet another deadly shooting occurring. On the 24th of May 2015, Raheem and a member of THF known as Twin would be at a restaurant on the 800 block of East 45th Street. It's alleged that two members of 051, being Ario and Melly, would get the drop on Raheem. The two 051 members would drive past Raheem. Melly would then open fire from the car on both Raheem and Twin, hitting Twin in the ankle and killing 15-year-old Raheem on the scene, with both attackers fleeing shortly after the murder. Ario would be arrested for the murder and was taken in for questioning. He was held for a few years, but was released in November 2023.
See what I'm saying? Do you know like just like when I was saying about Culprit, rest in peace, all the rest of it, when they were shooting at people the week before, just like this Raheem kid, 15, got backbone, got heart, but obviously now look at you ain't got a life. You was on the earth 15 years. You walked up to this guy, you blammed him in the head. He didn't die, and now you're dead. It's just, yeah, mad.
Rest in peace, Raheem. In 2016, Melly felt untouchable and would often take trips onto rival territory looking for rivals to kill. In November 2016, he would spot a Folly Boys member known as Lil Del, who was thought to have had something to do with the murder of an 051 Young Money member known as Bankroll Q a day earlier. Anyways, on the 27th of November 2016, Lil Del would be sitting in a car on the 8800 block of South Marshfield at around 2 p.m. A dark-colored SUV carrying 051 members like Melly would approach him and would open fire from the SUV, hitting Lil Del multiple times. The 051 members then fled the scene, with Lil Del somehow managing to get himself to hospital before then dying upon reaching the hospital. Rest in peace, Lil Del. Around 2 hours after the murder of Lil Del, Melly would post a video playing with guns and mocking Lil Del for dying. The violence wouldn't end between the gangs, and only 3 days following the death of Lil Del, Melly and two other 051 members would kill another THF 46 member, this being Trevon, who was was standing on the 6800 block of South Cornell Avenue. Melly and two other 051 members noticed him. With it being alleged, Melly then began shooting toward him multiple times. Trevon was hit in his face and abdomen and was pronounced dead minutes later on the scene, this being the sixth person that Melly had seemingly killed. Rest in peace, Trevon. The next incident involving Melly would be the deadly shooting of his close friend right in front of his eyes. Around 2018, the stepfather of Raheem, known as Bezu, would come out of prison and would be wanting to kill Melly just as much as Lil Durk did, as he was a serious problem for 600 members and THF members. On the 25th of May 2018, 051 Melly and his close friend Crump would be pictured on social media standing together. During the early hours of the morning, Crump and Melly were at a party. During the party, 3 members of the rival THF 46 gang would pull up in a car and would begin to let off shots towards Melly and Crump. Crump would be hit 4 times by the oncoming bullets and was rushed to the University of Chicago hospital, where he was pronounced dead a few hours later. Melly was also hit a few times in the shooting, but once again, by a stroke of luck, would survive with his life. Rest in peace, Crump. It was alleged that following the death of Crump,
2 attempts and he's lived. He must have thought, bloody hell. You know what I mean? Maybe it was third time lucky. We're going to find out, of course, but jeez Louise. Yeah, this guy must have thought, forget 50 Cent. Like, that's the second time. He must have thought he's a T1000.
In 2018, Melly would shoot dead a member of GGE known as TY. However, since the death of TY, it's become more known that the killers of TY were actually Dump Street members. Although the Chicago Police Department did name Melly as a suspect. Rest in peace, TY. The final murder that has been rumored to have been the work of Melly was that of Baby D, who once again was the cousin of the extremely popular rapper Lil Durk. In 2018, Melly would be on the lurk for Lil Durk's blood brother D Thang. After searching for a few hours, Melly would notice Lil Durk's cousin Baby D, as well as D Thang and OTF Fresh, sitting in a car on the 600 block of East 115th Street. Melly would begin to shoot randomly into the car that held the 3 rivals. All 3 would sustain injuries.
More recurring themes. Not just the shooting into whatever, not knowing who you're getting, but the fact that these men are standing at a bus stop, sitting in the car. They just, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you not know people want to murder your blood clot? I'm not saying stay inside forever, but hanging about, just sitting in the car. You ain't got nowhere better to be. Jeez.
Baby D would be shot in the back multiple times and would be taken to hospital. Sadly, however, he would be pronounced dead hours later. Both D Thang and OTF Fresh would also be shot by Melly, but would luckily go on to survive. Rest in peace, Baby D. Baby D was the 3rd person that Melly had allegedly killed. That was extremely close to Baby D.
I'm sorry. It looks like he's got a half decent physique, but what is good? Like, because it's so blurry, I don't know if that's plaits. I don't know if that's some type of straight perm. This blurry image is making him look like Abe with hair. Follow me. You know, what is... You look like the guy from Belly. I don't like that shit. Maybe we'll have to try and edit it in if you don't know. Looking like a whole black Abe. Yeah, that is looking so mad. You know I'm going to hell already, but not because I'm a horrible person.
Baby D was the 3rd person that Melly had allegedly killed. That was extremely close to Lil Durk and was the 8th person overall. Due to him having allegedly killed this many people, rivals would hate Melly and would often ride out looking for him. Melly would start to see himself as untouchable around this time, as in a way, he had survived 2 shootings and was supposedly behind multiple murders in the area. Members of 600 as well as members of THF 46 would seek Melly out, and on the 1st of September 2019, Melly would fall victim to the street life in a place that he felt he was untouchable. On the 1st of September 2019, Melly was attending a house party on the 6107th Street of St. Lawrence.
You're out here killing multiple people. If you've got your ear to the street, you know that the streets want you. Them want you. Yeah, the streets want you, bro. But here you are at a party. Don't get it twisted. I like a little dance myself. You know this. I ain't shooting bullets at people. Just, yeah, as far as I know, my life ain't under threat. You know what I'm saying? What? Telling me he don't know what's been going on years and years of just shooting people and that. 2 shootings, like 2 murder attempts on yourself that you survive. Let me just go to the party. The last party you're ever gonna go to. Mad.
This being the territory of Jarrow City or Taekwon World. During the party, a rival member known as Nate would notice Melly. As a quick backstory, it was alleged that Melly had shot up Nate's house in the months earlier. Anyways, Nate would approach Melly, shooting him multiple times in the chest. This entire incident was filmed by another person at the party, with it even being alleged that the person recording was killed days later in a separate attack. Following the death of Melly, 051 Young Money would begin to go by Melly Way in remembrance of their fallen friend. Melly was actually mentioned in King Von's extremely popular track Back Again, in which he rapped, "Melly got shot in the party, started Harlem shaking." If you have learned anything from this video, make sure that it is to stay out of the gang life, as this life only ever leads to jail or death, and rarely ever anything positive. What a lot of the people that are involved in the gang life don't tell you is that they themselves have lost lots of friends to the endless gang wars playing out in the streets. Rest in peace.
Yeah, not just that. You lose your friends, you lose your life, you lose your freedom. Ultimately, you lose your humanity. Look at that from Melly. He must have thought he was a T1000. Like I said, 2 attempts on his life. He must have thought he was bulletproof. 3rd time lucky, right? What did I just say? It's horrible, isn't it? Can't really feel sorry for him because he's out here taking lives, multiple. What are the police saying over there? Because over here, yeah, you'd be lucky if you get away with 1, let alone multiple. Like, do you know what I'm saying? We got, yeah, our police are on it. Maybe these men don't care because it's black on black crime or whatever. I don't know. Maybe a conversation for another day, man. But there you go, people. Let me know what you thought. Like, share, subscribe. You know we're going to keep these coming and keep them pumping. Views, tube. Back again soon, my beautiful people.